I would like to announce that a quorum is present, the meeting is duly called, and a notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The following board members are in attendance: Catherine Sells, Sheila Taylor, Dr. Betty Bonner, Allison Lasan, Michelle Alcateb, Dr. Stacy Barker, and Jenny Prosnick. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, and 074. The time is 6 p.m. We will now reconvene into open session. The time is 7 p.m. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. So I'm going to take a brief moment of privilege here, which is first I want to wish my husband a very happy 29th wedding anniversary. So these are the best years because they are spent with him. And in doing so, I want to acknowledge the personal sacrifices that are made by our spouses and families and my fellow board members, which enable us to serve our LISD community. Often it's them whose birthdays, school events, school sporting events, and life events that sometimes take a back seat to our work from here at the dais. And I believe they are the silent heroes of the board, and I just want to say I'm very grateful to them for their service and their unwavering dedication to my fellow trustees here. And with that, we will now celebrate some other people here in the district.
During the summer, Flower Mound and Marcus High Schools were honored to send students to the Educators Rising National Conference and Competition in Washington, D.C. Flower Mound's Anna Schaefer won second place in Exploring Support Service Careers. Brooke Dasher and Jessica Cluthy won second place in Elementary Interactive Bulletin Board. Marcus High School's Samantha Evans and Callie Venter won first place Blue Ribbons in Interactive Bulletin Boards. Molly Lehu and Reagan Williams won second place in Interactive Bulletin Board. Way to go, future educators!
Good evening. I'm Chad Russell. I'm the principal of Flower Mound High School. I'd like to introduce a couple of our students here who participated in the National Educators Rising. By the way, we're going to have a contract for you guys to sign before you all leave here tonight, just so you don't get away. Anyway, we have here first, here's Jessica Cluth. She is in the second place in the nation in Elementary Interactive Bulletin Boards. And then we have Anna Schaefer, who was second in Exploring and Supporting Service Centers in Library Media Services.
Flower Mound High School baseball team had a remarkable season, culminating in a journey to the state championship tournament, where they earned third place. The Jags, ranked second in the state of Texas and fifth across the nation by Max Preps, finished their season with a record of 40 wins. Congratulations, Jags.
Well, with school starting tomorrow, we've had a very busy spring hiring directors and head coaches. So I'm going to ask Chad Russell to come up to introduce his coaches and his directors for this year. We've had the luxury of many of these individuals already working with many of our kids. So for the first day of school tomorrow, introduce our new staff. Miss Drinkwater, can you please join us up here? I was asking Miss Drinkwater to come up here and join. Next, could I have Dr. Amy Boughton come up to introduce the coaches and the new drill team instructor?
Good evening. I'm Amy Boughton, principal of Hebron, and I'm excited to introduce tonight our first ever head women's wrestling coach, Maria Mulero. And then our new head drill team director, Lauren Wheeler. And Rachel Buckley is our new head volleyball coach, and she had her first parent meeting tonight, so she couldn't be here. I said, you're just going to have to win a state title so you can be recognized then. All right.
Where's Drinkwater? Next, Mr. Jim Baker, please come up here and introduce your new additions to the staff.
All right. I have an amazing group of coaches that we've been able to hire this summer. Extremely excited. Our new swim coach is Christy Rollins. Christy's coming from Arlington and just been exceptional and will bring amazing things to the farmers. We have Mallory Rossman as our head softball coach. Mallory's been our assistant and just a game changer for us and has helped transition the program into a much better place. We're super excited about and for Mallory. And George Yacht, who's here. George, who will be our boys wrestling coach, and he's coming from Frisco, and he has jumped in immediately. And these people are already farmers, so great night. Thank you.
And unable to be with us tonight, but we still want to take the time to recognize the addition of Erica Edwards, the head girls wrestling coach at the Colony High School. So we've added a tremendous amount of talent in the coaching world and the director world to LISD to guide our programs and to mentor our young students. So with that, we have the first day of school tomorrow. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you so much. Welcome to LISD. Next up, the superintendent update. Dr. Rapp.
All right. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Pleased to bring you this update and really just so excited for us to all be back up here and getting the school year started. So quite a few things to update you on since I saw you last Monday at the work session. Thank you so much to everyone for gathering together for convocation. It's been, as we talked about, it's been 7 years since we had done that and gathered, and so really appreciate the staff for working on that. But most importantly, I really appreciate Dr. Miller for just all the logistics to move that many staff to one location and just get the whole family together and launch our theme of everyone, because it's going to take everyone to be united for public education this year. So when it comes to the 3 C's, I want to talk first about connection with staff. We had a great new hire week, and many of you were there to see them. We hired about 300-ish people that were there to get trained up. I appreciate the staff that prepared learning for our new hires. I cannot tell you how many times I meet people who've come to us from other districts, all great districts, but they say it is different here. And the training that's provided here, they're very appreciative for. The family feel, I hear it over and over and over again, so I'm very proud of that. And then Dr. Miller, Kurt Martin, they're working on this program called LISD Connect. We're going to kick it off with a bash at the ballpark with the Frisco Rough Riders on August 21st, and I've agreed to throw out the first pitch, so we'll see how that goes, and I'll try to warm up my arm there. We had a great, when it comes to connecting with our family, we had a great back-to-school fair last weekend. I'm so thankful to our guidance and counseling and social work team and to Ms. Crow and Ms. Adams and our social workers for helping organize this effort for our families. We served over 2,500 students the day of the fair. We had another 500 students that are registered that will still receive their backpack of supplies at their schools. We had nearly 300 volunteers and about 50 vendors from our community. And I just think about being out there. I even got the chance to cook some of the hot dogs. They let me try my hand at that, and just how families felt welcomed. And I'm so thankful for our community coming together to support our students coming back to school. And these 4 pictures on the slide really tell such a great story. You know, we're so thankful for the support of DATCU to our school district. They're everywhere. Of course, they made a significant donation for the next 10 years that we're appreciative of. But the fact they stood at convocation and held signs telling teachers how much they appreciate them was wonderful. We received checks from Walmart and Sam Pax Ford for back to school fair. Walmart had a check that day of the fair that they provided us. It was over $5,000. And then Sam Pax Ford surprised us all last week with over $14,000 that they raised to help with back to school fair. And then I was really glad to attend the PTA launch at the Gaylord with our PTA members who are also working hard to be trained up to help start a great school year. So that bottom picture is all of us there together at the Gaylord getting ready for school starting. And then I wanted to share just a little bit about some connection with students that's happened over the summer as school has been out even. I had the great pleasure of meeting with Juhi Aurora, who's a student at Marcus High School. She's a rising junior, and she got accepted to participate in a UT Southwestern summer research program. It's a very competitive program. She presented her research to me. She's going to be presenting it at Marcus High School. She's going to work with Dr. Kuntz on that, but very proud of her and really looking forward for our secondary science team to hear from her and learn about how to make other students aware of this opportunity too. I love that we had staff, our Flower Mound High School Teacher of the Year helped continue to organize a lemonade stand in the neighborhood, supporting one of our teachers' families from Liberty with the Living Hope Equestrian Center. I loved being invited and visiting that and seeing the community come out. And then I loved meeting Sienna, who's a Hebron High School student, and she volunteered at our Spanish camp because she participated in Spanish immersion as well. And so this is her way of being able to give back to that program. We just have amazing students that learn so much from our staff, and I'm so proud when I meet them out on the road. And then I absolutely want to say thank you to all of you. These are pictures that I took over the summer and even right up until convocation. And just thank you for the time that you spend over your summer learning and being places in order to support our school district. Jason Cooper talked at the Metro Crest Women's Business Forum about CTE. We were there to support him in that. We supported communities and schools at the Back to School breakfast. We had SLI in Fort Worth. And then thank you for making it to Inspire as well. So very appreciative to all of you, and so thankful for your visibility in our community supporting our staff and our schools. And then we have worked hard to be ready for first day tomorrow, from our leaders who spent the summer at Inspire Learning, to facilities, to our bus drivers, to our child nutrition team, to all the staff that have provided professional learning. I wouldn't even be able to list out all the departments that have made getting ready for the first day tomorrow possible, but I'm very proud and thankful for everybody's work. I was over the weekend doing one of my very favorite things, which is surprising campuses and going and writing on teachers' whiteboards, because classrooms are my happy place. And one of the things that I love to see is how they're hanging those Recognize Someones outside their doors, near their desks. And so those 3 pictures I snapped. And I just continue to urge our community to keep bragging on our staff. We closed last school year with over 7,000 submissions of compliments to our staff, and they make a huge, huge difference and feed their souls. So keep them coming this school year. When it comes to communications, if you haven't already, please download the mobile app. Ms. Brim will tell you that I am a champion for the app, and sign up for those push notifications. And you can receive things related to your child's school right to your phone. And we'll continue to work with our staff as they're getting used to using that. Schools are still learning how to push their communication out in that way. And then, as you all know, I updated you today as well. The House Public Education Committee met. We did provide comments on behalf of the district related to House Bill 1605, Senate Bill 2124 about advanced math, and then educational choice and education savings accounts. And I would just sum up all of those things to say the words unfunded mandates, erosion of local control, actually not giving parents rights first to determine what advanced math course they want their child to be in. They have to opt out of that. And then ultimately, when it comes to educational choice, taxpayer funds that are used to possibly leave the public schools should have the same transparency and accountability as what we all go through. And then upcoming first day of school tomorrow, we cannot wait to welcome our students back. And I snapped these 3 pictures from more classroom visits. And y'all, you know, as I was in the classrooms, our teachers, just the notes I saw to kids getting ready for Meet the Teacher, and these 3 sayings I just loved. The top one, 100 years from now, it will not matter what my bank account was, how big my house was, or what kind of car I drove. But the world may be a little better because I was important in the life of a child. May we all have a beautiful day back at school tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you all out there, and I'm looking forward to a great school year.
Thank you. Public comments are next on the agenda. We had no public speakers. Next is consent. Are there any items to be pulled, or would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Sells.
As there are no items being pulled, I move that the board approve the consent agenda items as recommended by administration.
Second. Dr. Barker. All those in favor? Unanimous, 7-0. Pages. Next up is our information items, the annual report on the LISD membership with purchasing cooperative contracts and any related fees. Mr. Rare.
Thank you. The district is required to submit an annual report of the purchasing cooperatives that we're involved in and any related fees that we pay to those cooperatives. So you'll see in your board book is a list of all the purchasing cooperatives that we're members of and any fees that the district paid, as well as fees that were paid by our vendors. This item is for information only, and no further actions required by the board.
Thank you, Mr. Rare. The employee handbook, Ms. Cobb.
As you know, we use this time every year to inform you all of the employee handbook updates. The handbook is updated each year based on policy changes by legislature, district procedures to offer appropriate guidance to all employees. The handbook is also sent out to all of our departments to review their processes, make any changes, and/or provide any clarification. And it serves as a guide for best practices and outlines the rules and procedures for all employees. So I'll go over a couple of the most important things that have changed, and then a few reminders that we shared with staff. So probably our biggest change this year has been our employee dress code. And the first statement here is really just a reminder of what's in policy as related to our dress code, just that our employees their dress and grooming should be neat and clean and in a manner appropriate for their assignment. And then the next page will be the changes that we made. One thing that we talked about this year with all employees is that with the year being several political things coming up, we just wanted to remind everybody about Texas law, and they make it clear that school district resources cannot be used to promote political candidates or ballot measures, and to be mindful of indirect uses, like wearing campaign materials to work. Then we also just reiterated some of the same things as far as that the employee serves as a role model, they exemplify high standards of professional appearance, and they instill community values. Other changes we have made this year is we have adopted a business casual dress code, and that right there outlines what that means. The items in pink are the newest things: jeans, no holes or frays. They can be worn any day of the week, but they have to be paired with a professional dress shirt or school spirit shirt. We also talked about footwear and different items such as leggings and yoga pants. And then, of course, what has always been in place is that any attire that is provocative, revealing, or likely to be distracted would not be considered to be professional in nature or appropriate. And then we also added in this year that they may not wear clothing prohibited by the student code of conduct. And then, of course, for our departments that require uniforms, they have the freedom to do that. They follow the guidelines set by their supervisors in their departments. We also established new guidelines for Staff Spirit Day. You can see that the standard rule there that staff should remember the integrity of their position, and it's essential that all employees give due consideration to the way they dress, since they are often viewed as role models by the students we serve. And then we outlined what staff participating in Spirit Days looks like, that they have to adhere to the district dress code, and again, some of the same rules that I've already touched on are in line there. And then we talked about what happens if an employee if their attire is problematic on a regular day or spirit wear, and what that looked like. A couple of other changes would be the voluntary transfer process. The change here is it's been a 3-year process. A staff would have to stay on a campus for 3 years before they're allowed to move to another campus. That changed this year after a survey of our administrators. That changed to 2 years this year. And then the window of voluntary transfers, when that begins and when it ends. Another change to the handbook is about overpayments and overtime. The employees are not entitled to any funds in which the district overpays. They actually sign off on that agreement when they get after they read their handbook, and their handbook receipt actually makes that statement that they're not entitled, and that we would be able to deduct any overpayment for their paychecks if an overpayment occurs. And then again, we discussed overtime. This has pretty much been a common practice. It's not new, but as a reminder, any non-exempt employee who works overtime without prior approval will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. They just have to they can't do it on their own. They have to work through their supervisor with that. And then lastly, the biggest update has been about donated days and local leave. As you know, we do have a system where local days can be donated from one employee to another. We added in this statement that local days may not be sold to another employee. They have to be donated. And then tobacco and cigarette use, the addition there is that this has kind of always been in place, but they added in this year nicotine patches. That counts as a nicotine product, and the pouches, and they can't be on school district property. And then we went through and just reminders of things that are very important in our handbook, just about employee arrest. If an employee is arrested, they have 3 days to report any arrest to HR. Again, the alcohol, drugs, tobacco, and searches just reminds them about tobacco use and e-cigarette use on campus. Other highlights are reporting suspected child abuse, that we are mandatory reporters as educators, and they have 48 hours to report any suspicion of child abuse. Working from home and no-shows, just reminders about paras and auxiliary employees. They are not allowed to work from home without approval from the CHRO. And then our no-call, no-show policy, an hourly employee who is absent for 3 consecutive days without notice is considered to be job abandonment, and they may face disciplinary consequences. Our social media guidelines, we reminded staff of what that looks like, and then the staff guidelines are attached there. It is an important tool to use to effectively communicate with our various stakeholder groups, including families, campus communities, and staff and students. And this just outlines our procedures related to social media guidelines. Workplace and accommodations and injuries. Any workplace accommodations requested by an employee and their medical provider must be approved by HR benefits. So we outlined that process and what that looks like there. All employees are entitled to the Employee Assistance Program. It is a free resource for all LASD employees. And then here are the reminder of the steps for FMLA and what that looks like, and how our process for that, and how we take care of our employees through that process. And then reminders about the PUMP Act, which the PUMP Act is not new, but it does include a provision requiring employees to notify their employee if they believe if the employer is out of compliance, and it gives us 10 days to come back into compliance of before any claim can be made. The PWFA, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, again, is not new. It's just a reminder that effective on June 23rd of 2023, it expands the existing federal law with respect to accommodation of pregnant employees. Essentially, it provides consideration for any known limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions. Our district travel guidelines were updated, and it's just reminding staff of that process and what it looks like, that advances for employee travel are not allowed, and there are reimbursement limits that they must follow. Neutrality in the classroom, again, as we work through this year with the political things we've got coming up, is just a reminder of what our board policy is in relation to neutrality in the classroom, and then how to handle classroom conversations related to that neutrality. Safety and security, employees must follow our established protocols and in response to emergencies for each campus and department, and then they must comply with our security door guidelines. Standards of conduct, employees are expected to notify their supervisor in advance as early as possible in the event they must be absent or late. And then unauthorized absences, chronic absenteeism, tardiness, and failure to follow procedures could lead to disciplinary action. And then our financial capacity and legislative advocacy, a reminder that employees shall not serve in a financial capacity of a booster club or any other parent organization. And then our advocacy days, the use of district resources, including work time for the advocating or a ballot measure is prohibited. And then just a reminder about our compliance e-courses. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cobb. Next up, we have monthly technology reports. Mr. Colbeck.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Ms. Prosnick. In the board book, there's two reports. Obviously, we didn't have a board meeting in July, so we have 2 months in there. So I want to touch on a few highlights. The IFE balance is sitting right around that $2.3 million mark. As far as device ages, when we look, basically through May and June, I had to dig into the teacher average, and you may look at that and say, why is that as high as what it is? And the reason that is the staff iPads that are assigned are still in that data set. So as you can imagine, those are back from 2018, and it's bringing down that average. I was actually thinking that average was going to drop a little bit more, but that's the why. And as I shared in the past, that's a project that we're going to try to take on after we're done with the student deployment and try to come up with some standards around, what staff are going to end up with an iPad or not. But once that happens, that'll obviously bring that number down. Also looking in May, you'll notice that the opt-in percentage drops slightly, as does the devices on campus. May is a transitionary month, as seniors are still on campus, but they may have turned their devices in, so some of those numbers do end up dropping slightly. And then looking also back into June, you're seeing some transition again for pre-K 3 specifically. That jumped up from the previous month, most likely due to weeding out some of the oldest devices as we were wrapping up some of our summer work before technicians went off campus. Now that said, that number should drop off drastically because all of the new iPads have been received and for pre-K 3 and assigned. Also, I just want to point out in June, when we're out of session, it's interesting to point out that our usage stayed pretty consistent in June as it did for the month of May, but as you can see, that's all at-home traffic. So as far as the devices being used, obviously I just want to remind everybody the devices are filtered off campus and still have access to educational resources. And then also on a positive note, not on the agenda, but I mentioned the E-rate reimbursement that actually happened today. So we actually got the funds received today for just over $5 million. So that'll be credited. You'll see that in the board dashboard as a revenue for TC01. And that concludes the technology report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? All right, we'll move on to our discussion items. Fiscal year 25 budget update, follow-up, Dr. Rapp.
Thank you, Madam President. So a follow-up from our work session. Of course, I think it's always important to reiterate, as I know that staff are watching and listening about the budget at this time, that with the legislature's inaction to increase the basic allotment, that has created a set of circumstances that are making it very hard for public schools. And in fact, really, I think on the news, almost every day there's a different article about school funding and school finance in Texas. You don't have to look very far to see that schools are having to make very hard choices. And as I talked about at the work session, and you have on your document and board book, we currently are projecting the deficit for fiscal year 25 at about $5.8 million. We're still working to continue to clean up payroll and work through all that's related to reductions in personnel and things of that nature. The way that we got from what originally we projected you all at $14 million, the way we got to 5.8 is through the budget reductions that we've put into place. So from not backfilling central office positions, reducing of central office and department budgets, changes to the middle school schedule, the sub-fill rate, all of those things to name just a few. And I continue to remind people that we're keeping track on our budget reduction website about all the work that we're having to do in order to address the lack of action from our legislature. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Rare to give a little bit of a few talking points related to where we are on the function analysis for the budget. And we, of course, have y'all's budget and tax rate adoption coming up on the 26th.
Thank you. As Dr. Rapp stated, you have the general fund by function that we've included in your board packet. And so that was produced after the work session last week. Since then, we've continued to review our salary benefits and our stipends. So that's even changed since that time. We've made some additional adjustments. It'll continue to be reviewed over the next week, and we're going to take it even to more detail. We're going to produce a report that will show you not only by function but also by object, which for those who were on the board a few years ago, I think that was included in the budget book 2 years ago. And so that will provide a little bit more detail to help you see any discrepancies or changes from one year to the next. Just wanted to highlight a few things on this document that you do have by function. And so some things that may have jumped out to you. We had a sizable decrease that we were showing in function 36. And the reason for that is the stipends hadn't been loaded yet by function into the budget. So at the time we did the work session, we had the stipend estimate just as a placeholder in the budget, and so it wasn't allocated out to the different functions. And so that's now been done since this document was generated. And so we were showing about a $5 million decrease. It's actually going to be closer to $1 million for that function. Just as well, I wanted to highlight Function 12, Instructional Resource Materials. That's another function that jumped out to me with a $2 million, almost a $2 million decrease from the previous year. Not only are we looking at what the budget is, but we're also comparing it to how we ended this year or what we're projecting to end this year with. And so for that function, even though we had about $8.8 million budgeted for last year, we're currently projecting to end at about $6.5 million for this current year, or for fiscal year 24. And so that is actually just bringing next year's budget more in line with what our expenditures were for this year. So you'll see, some of those differences will be because of items such as that, just trying to true up the budget to more mirror what our actual expenditures were for this year. And as I said, we're continuing to work on the function by object schedule, and we're hoping to have that ready for you by the end of this week.
Are there any questions? Dr. Bonner.
I don't have any questions per se on the budget, and I know we'll get some more detailed information on that here in the near term. I would like to have a moment of, I guess, privilege or discussion around our tax rate. I did. Jamie slipped a little piece of paper in your folder, and I want to walk down that with you just real quickly because I'm of the opinion we can probably reduce our interest in sinking tax rate. I would encourage you to check my Canton High School math on this, and I'm not going to belabor the point except to point you to the bottom line on proposed INS tax rate. I think for the upcoming year, we can reduce our INS tax rate a couple of pennies and have space within our tax rate to cover our bonded indebtedness obligations. And then during our program and budget review meeting with Mr. Rare and Dr. Rapp, I had the opportunity to talk about some additional tax work being done in the next couple of years, and you can see that on that page as far as some disaster pennies, which we've talked about, and then also swapping some interest in sinking for some maintenance operation pennies. In other words, accessing our remaining copper pennies. And then I think the following year, this is at a glance for the next 4 years or so. We don't have to discuss all that tonight, but I think there's a couple more pennies we could gain. And so I appreciate the opportunity to visit about that tonight with you all as we look to set our tax rate and our budget on the 26th. And would be open to any further discussion tonight or none, whatever your pleasure is.
I don't like this new button thing. Are there any questions? I have a couple. If we do reduce the INS by 2 cents, how much less are we going to be able to defease on bonds? Ish. I know I don't mean to make you do math up here, but that is that's how we defease bonds early.
It would be close to $12 million.
Okay. 12 million.
12 million.
So is it about $6 million-ish a penny?
That's correct.
Okay. And on the document that Mr. Martin provides us that kind of shows us what the INS generates and so forth for our bonds, could you remind me what the assumption was in growth?
Yes, we were using 6% growth for the next 2 years, and then down to 4% for 2 years, then down to 2%. So it was very conservative based on where we have been the last few years.
But this year we had less than 5% growth,
That's
correct?
Yes, it was just under 5%.
Okay. I think that's all important kind of information on that. The only other thing I would say about budget in general is I know of no other business or government entity that is required to staff for 100%, but only gets paid for attendance. So we staff for every kiddo that is enrolled in our district, but we only get funded when they come. So right now we're at 93% is what we've done. That's 7% of our budget that if we had, we'd be on the positive side right now. But that 7% just, it's like it's in the crystal ball realm. So that is another one of those many kind of makes you scratch your head how the legislature came up with funding for public education. We staff for every kid, but we only get paid if they show up, but it doesn't matter because we're staffed for every kid. So at 7% of our budget, with the total at 565, 35 million right there. So that's just a little something for you to ponder. Oh, Ms. Taylor, please do.
I had to make sure that was my mic. I had a question about the defeasance. You said that it would reduce what we're able to defease by $12 million. Is it, I believe that you had shared what our, I don't know if I want to say average or what we normally do. What has our defeasance been?
This year was higher. It was about $60 million.
Okay.
Right now, what I shared at the last meeting, we were looking at about $35 million, so a little bit smaller, but
okay.
We'll take a look at that again after we make all of our August debt payments and have a better estimate at that time.
Okay, but we still be in, I guess, double digits of defeasance with
yes,
the
yeah,
tax.
$20 million at minimum.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Bonner.
Jenny, I really like your $35 million because that is oddly close to that money that is being sequestered in Austin, which is about $700 a kid times our ADA. So we're about 34, 35 there. And I agree with you 100% on the M&O calculations. We do not need to we cannot give anything back there. In fact, the district will have a little bit of compression this year. To 10,000ths of a cent, if my Canton math is correct. It won't be much, is what it is. But then looking at this schedule, the next year we'd gain our copper pennies back, right, by giving up some additional INS. So I really appreciate the opportunity to throw this out there for your review. And again, if there's some mathematical errors, please forgive me for that. But I would like to talk further about it on the 26th, what it would look like if we did this year. I just showed the next several years just for a big picture. Certainly we would only determine 1 year because things change over time, right? Thank you.
To Dr. Bonner's point, I think it would be helpful on the 26th if we had some scenarios in board book of what it looked like for, if you will, each penny, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that fair, board? All right. Thank you so much. Moving on, the monthly financial reports, including the bond report, land sale report, and the monthly investment summit. Mr. Rare.
We had one item, the budget calendar.
I'm so sorry. The budget calendar. I guess I assumed it was all in one thing. Oh, yeah. See local. So that would go to Dr. Bonner's question with the INS, correct?
Yeah, and for this calendar, this is actually for fiscal year 26. So we're jumping ahead.
Well, you're still up.
Okay, so thank you. The board policy CE local states that the board budget calendar shall be presented to the board for consideration in August and adopted no later than November. And so the budget calendar for fiscal year 26 is included in the board packet. It closely mirrors the calendar for fiscal year 25. We'll bring that back to the board for approval in November. Now,
how about that monthly financial report?
All right. Included in the board packet are monthly financial reports, including the bond report, land sale report, and the monthly investment summary. Results for both May and June as well, since we did not have a board meeting in July. I wanted to highlight a few of the items on the June reports. So on the budget, revenue, and expenditure summary, and this is through June, so for 10 months of the year, which is 83% of our fiscal year. To date, we received 90% of our revenue, and our expenditures were at 79%. And then on the 2023 bond summary, just wanted to highlight that through June, we'd already earned $10.6 million of interest on our bond funds, which thankfully the interest rates are high. That's going to change soon. But then the last thing that I wanted to highlight is on the land sale summary for the month ending June 30th. Just highlighting the fact that at that time the budget available from land sales is $24.6 million.
Are there any questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Rare. Next up, the 2024-25 District Improvement Plan. Dr. Miller.
All right, good evening. Happy to share the District Improvement Plan, a draft, with y'all. You know that we use a continuous improvement cycle for our District Improvement Plan. It's driven by our long-range plan, which we're entering year 2 of the long-range plan. Yay. So that has really provided us with clarity and some focus district-wide. So we used remember, we had end-of-the-year scorecard check-ins with campuses and with departments. So that really was used as our needs assessment to see where we are in our long-range plan goals and what we need to do to adjust. So you have a copy of our draft of our strategies. Some of the time, we signaled at end of the year, and campuses signaled. So some of those strategies, we signaled we want to build on what we started. We're staying the course and we're building. Others were, we signaled a change. And so some of those strategies look very different than what we did this past year due to the signaling. So, and then you have a draft copy, and then in September, we'll go ahead and do that as an action item. Right now, campuses are working on their campus improvement plans as well. It is a very collaborative process and ongoing, so you know from last year that we now implemented a fall and a spring monitoring and checking in so that we know where we're at all times and can adjust before we get to the end of the year. And campuses do the same thing. So we're able to respond to that throughout the process. So when you look at the format, it did not change from last year because it's driven by the long-range plan. So we have the same goals, same performance objectives, the same outcomes. Now we're upping those every year because remember it's a 3-year plan. So we have different targets that we're trying to hit this year based on last year. But it's built all around the long-range plan. So when you look in Plan for Learning, the format looks the same. The things that are different are our strategies will be different than last year. And then remember the red arrow, the high priority. So we are doing the same thing as last year where campuses, based on their needs assessment, they identify their 3 top priorities that they want to focus on. Some of those want to continue with, we talked a lot at our campus check-ins how if you've done a lot of work to make progress and get where you are, that might still need to be a high priority because you've got to do a lot of work to maintain the progress that you've already had. And then others see a different need based on that, and so their priorities change. But you'll see in the campus improvement plans, there'll be the high priority will be marked if it's one of their top priorities. And then we have also district identified priorities. So those are, of course, student learning, 1.1, because that's why we're here. And then our 3 C's in community engagement, 5.1, is a district priority for everyone. And then every campus has their own campus behavior goal based on their data that they have. A lot of them, remember, we're doing safe and civil with a lot of campuses, so their goals are tied to what their initiatives are on campus. Okay, then we will come back. The cycle will be the same as last year, so we'll have 3 we'll come back and check in. Those are based on when data is available that align with that formative process. So we will do a check-in in November, so in December we'll come and share with you what the check-in was and what the signaling is for fall, and then we'll do the same thing in spring and then at the end of the year. And then Dr. Fitzhugh's and Adrian Gall's updates on student learning will align with those as well. So we'll be back. You have a draft of strategies. We'll be back in September for action, and then we'll go from there for our cycle.
Very good. Any comments, questions? Anyone? Dr. Barker.
Thank you, Madam President. Some of our staff who may not be as familiar with how other districts function, this is a model process. There are not many other districts that are doing strategic planning and prioritization and checking in around data in this way. And I am beyond proud of the work that this district is doing in this area, and it is bar none. I challenge you to find a district that's doing it better. It'll be very difficult for you to do so. Great work, Dr. Miller.
The only thing I would add on to that is that I love that when we see something isn't working, we don't try to make it work. We adjust, and we try a different strategy that will get the outcome in a better way. So I kudos. Good work. Moving on, action items. Consider approval of the LEF, the Lewisville Education Foundation Memorandum of Understanding. Dr. Rapp.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Of course, you had this before you for review last Monday as well, and it includes the pass-through charges. That's the only adjustment. We look forward to Bill Lee's leadership and appreciate the partnership we have with LEF and what they'll do to help work with our students this school year.
Any comments, questions? Anyone would like to make a motion? Ms. Alcatel.
I move that the board approve the memorandum of understanding between Lewisville ISD and the Lewisville Education Foundation as recommended by administration.
Is there a second? Ms. Lasan? All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Mary Jacoby should be very happy. Next is consider selection of a TASB delegate and alternate for the 2024 Delegate Assembly. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Lasan.
I will. I move that the board approve the selection of TASB delegate Catherine Sells and alternate Dr. Buddy Bonner for the 2024 Delegate Assembly, which will be held on Saturday, September 28th, 2024 in San Antonio.
Is there a second? Ms. Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor? Passes 7-0. If there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 7:53 p.m. Have a pleasant evening and have a great first day at school tomorrow.